Hey, good morning. I hope you're having a good morning so far. How many of you guys are having a good week? Yes, good deal. Congrats to our Petroleum Pirate football team this week. Got a big win the other night. And huge shout out to them. And also our all-district honors for volleyball came out, and huge congrats to those girls. Some of them are in the room today, so huge congrats to all of them. Big week this week, all kinds of good things happening. And today is Heart for the House Sunday. And I say welcome to Byers Assembly. My name is Aaron. We're so thankful that you're joining us in person and online. And we're excited for today. It's going to be a little different format of a message today. We're going to be doing some interviews. We're going to be showing a few videos of things that we've been able to partner with and projects that we've been able to be a part of over the last 10 months now, 11 months now of this year. And so as we entered into 2020, no one knew what it would entail. And if you did, why didn't you tell us? No one knew. But when we read Isaiah 55, we realize that God knew. And God knew not only what would happen, but he also had a plan for it as well. In Isaiah 55, verse 8, we're in a series called Love Where You Live. And today we're going to look at this passage from the Old Testament in Isaiah where he's prophesying. And he's saying, God, this is about God. And he's prophesying about God's thoughts. And he says this in Isaiah 55, verse 8. It says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." How many of you guys are glad that God's ways are higher than our ways, and that his thoughts are higher than our thoughts, and that we're not the one in charge of it all? Like, aren't you glad that you're not the one that's in charge of everything? Some of you are like, actually, I think I would rather be in charge of everything. Control freak, that's what you are. I'm right there with you. So he said, hey, God's thoughts, God's ways, they're higher than our ways. They're higher than our thoughts. They're bigger than what we could ever dream or what we could ever imagine. He's challenging the people, and he's saying, hey, God's ways, they're always higher than yours. And we're in this series titled Love Where You Live, and we're excited about today being Heart for the House Sunday, and we're going to sacrifice together, and we're going to give above and beyond our tithe today to build the house of God, both locally and globally through our projects and partnerships, and we're going to celebrate a lot of those. But I just want to say, before we kind of get into that, is I'm proud of you as a church. I'm proud of you as a church. Over the year 2020, like I said, it has been crazy. And there's been a lot of things that have happened, but in all of the things that have happened, God's ways have still been higher than ours. God's thoughts have still been higher than ours. And you guys, as a church, you've continued to sacrifice. You can continue to give. You continue to progress, even in the midst of a lot of things shutting down, even in the midst of a pandemic, even in the midst of a lot of uncertainty. Your heart for God's house has made it possible for us to continue to move forward through projects and partnerships. Your heart for God's house, your heart for building the kingdom of God has made it possible for us to continue moving forward. I don't know if you remember, but about 9-ish months ago now, somewhere in that range, we had a moment where literally the whole country shut down like in 1 week. And it was just like, boom, it happened. And that seems like a decade ago. You think about that. It seems like a long time ago, but the whole country shut down. And all these different things were shutting down. All these places were shutting down. And the church even, we had to move online only for a season. And that happened. And we were just online. And there's still some people online with us today. But all these things were shutting down. But what was happening behind the scenes is that God was continuing to build his church. He was continuing to advance the kingdom of God. Even in the midst of a global shutdown, God's church was still being built. I don't know if you remember this, but Easter was only a few weeks after all of that. And Easter in the church world is like, the holiday as we celebrate Jesus' resurrection from the dead. And it's this big holiday. And people who never go to church, they show up on an Easter Sunday and you're able to preach the gospel to them. You're able to share your heart with them. And it's a big day. And we were forced to go online only for Easter. But even beyond just our service, we had like 3,000 Easter eggs that we had already got, and we had all of this candy, and we were like, what do we do with 3,000 Easter eggs and I don't know how many hundreds of pounds of candy? Like, what do we do with that? And so we were like thinking through, like, hey, what are we going to do? Do we just leave it and like celebrate Halloween with it? Like, what do? We don't really know. And we started talking, and we were like, look, the church is still able to move forward. We're still able to love where we live, even in the midst of a global pandemic. And so a lot of you guys in that season, you said, hey, we will deliver eggs to kids' houses. And so we put together bags of Easter eggs and candy, and a lot of you took bags of Easter eggs, and you just took them to kids, and we delivered bags to over 100 kids so they could have Easter in their yards and their houses. Yeah, you can clap for that. Super awesome. And in all that whole process, we were just saying, hey, how can we love where we live even in a pandemic? Like, how can we love where we live even in the midst of everything shutting down? How can we love where we live. And so we started just getting creative and thinking through things like that. And as we talk through this idea of loving where we live today, we're going to talk through 4 projects and partnerships today, and we're going to celebrate those with you. We're going to bring different people on stage to share their heart and what they were able to be a part of and how they've been able to see God's house be built in 2020. But our first project began pre-COVID, actually. We really didn't have any idea, obviously, what was going to all shift and happen this year. We didn't know we were going to be online only for like almost 3 months, 4 months. We didn't know that. We didn't have the cameras that if you're watching online, just tell us where you're watching from. Comment there. Say, hey, I'm on my couch, or I'm in whatever city you're in. Just let us know where you're at. But we didn't know that we were going to have to go online only. And so we really weren't prepared for that. A lot of the gear that is in this building, we did not have at that point in time because we weren't anticipating that. And in all of that process, we were like, hey, we wanted to replace all of our house lighting in here. Some of you guys might have remembered the house lighting that was in here before. All the lighting was these chandeliers, and the light was very yellow tinted. And we were just kind of upgrading and progressing in this remodel project. And so we got rid of these brass chandeliers, and we were moving that direction without any idea that we were going to be moving online. And so I'm going to ask Jessica to come up with me, and we're going to talk for a second about that process, your heart for the house of God, your giving, your generosity, even though we didn't anticipate fully, made it possible for us to be able to not only be online and stream online, and people are benefiting from that right now, but even throughout 3 months of being completely out of this building, people were able to engage and their kids were able to engage. And a lot of you guys hosted home churches and house churches and things like that. And so we made a lot of upgrades, and that was all because of the generosity of the people that are here in this room and online with us today. So tell us about a few of the upgrades that we made here on campus as far as online and all those different things.
Sure. There's some technical jargon that I'm going to try to avoid because most of you would be like, eyes glaze. But obviously, like Aaron already mentioned, the lights. In our production booth right now, everything that's in that booth is brand new. As far as for us, it's new to us. We had to upgrade a soundboard so that, again, all of you in this room have experienced our services online, and you probably have experienced watching other things online. And how many of you know that whenever the audio of something you're listening to is no good, you're going to turn it? I'm all done. Like, there's static. I'm switching. I can catch it later. I'm not going to mess with this. So we
every teenager in the room is like, yes, absolutely. Yeah. The moment that happens.
If you're a millennial or younger, most of you are like, if it took longer than 17 seconds, I'm done. I'm switching. But so we upgraded our audio. We were able to get a brand new soundboard. We obviously our lights, they're dimmable, which we've referenced in a couple of times, which is really great to be able, to be able to set the atmosphere in the room. Our computer, we had to get a brand new one, and something crazy happened. So in the middle of, we did all of that in the middle of COVID, but right before, whenever we came back to church in the building.
The first Sunday we were back in this building.
Yeah, it was after July 4th. There was a really awesome thunderstorm that night, and it was so great, and everyone slept really great, and we woke up Monday morning, and our Wi-Fi was down, and we're like, oh, well, probably something in here got fried, so we came and we fixed it. And then a couple of days later, we had a night of worship, and nothing would turn on. So we were like, oh no. Everything got fried by this lightning storm, which was nuts. It was crazy. So then we put protectors in place, and we got all of that fixed. It was nuts. But again, making all of those changes so that we can talk to you guys online, and we can talk to you guys in person and have just a different type of experience.
Yeah, all of that, literally, we had no idea we were going to move it online only, and still online. There's a lot of people that still can't be with us for different reasons, and they're online with us right now. And a lot of what you're seeing, like Luke's back here running a camera right now. Shout out to Luke, and he's doing that and making all that happen and making those things happen for us. And all of that stuff was stuff that we were able to get because of your generosity and being able to go in and go, hey, we can do this. We can make this happen. I will tell you, our very first week of being online only, most people don't know this. Our very first week of being online only, it took us like probably 60 to 80 hours that week to put a service together to be online. It took a lot of times. Jeremy laughed because he was a part of that. It took a lot of time to put one service together because we didn't have the equipment.
And
honestly.
that was with all of our heads together. Like
Yeah.
everyone's resources. We borrowed Sav's cameras. I think we borrowed all throughout the first 6 weeks of online service. We'd never done this before. And so much like everyone else in the country, some of you who are working jobs remotely are experience the same thing. I have no idea what I'm doing. And
Who loves Zoom calls, by the way? Anybody tired of Zoom calls yet? You're tired of them? Yes, I agree.
yeah, so I mean, we just were learning on the fly, and there were two people who really just helped all of this happen. Jason Bates, who's on staff with us here at the church, he learned so much during that time. He watched YouTube video after YouTube video. He made more phone calls than I think I've made in my life to people about what needed to happen, how things needed to happen. So super shout out to Jason Bates for putting all of that together, making all of it happen. And then also Craig Tidmore. He came up on his weeks to be able to record for us and help us understand what we were doing. He has a degree in broadcasting. And Craig, I probably got that wrong, so you can just tell me later. But he has a degree in all of that. He knows what he's doing. And so he came and he really helped us out with all of that. And the cool thing about that was Craig works on Sundays, and he was able to serve and create something for Sundays so that we could all be a part of it. And so just, again, the heart of you as the church, the heart of people, it wasn't just the equipment that we had, but we saw such a shift in that time of what can I do? I have this. Would you like to use this? I have a curtain. I can iron this. I can steam this, whatever. Everyone was willing to just jump in, which was awesome.
Yeah, we saw people just give out of generosity in every direction, like Jessica just said, to make that happen and make that jump and make that shift. Now it's obviously streamlined, and it's not near as difficult as it was in the beginning. But in the beginning, it was crazy, and people were just jumping in and going, hey, I can do this. I can make this happen. I can give this. And we were trying to think through, how do we run a service that has both kid elements and adult elements online? And we were running that. Yeah. And if you have kids and you're trying to get them to sit down and watch anything for very long, especially a service, you know how difficult that is. And our teams did incredible with all of that. And so it's impacted our community in some really cool ways, and people being able to watch who can't be here in person. People who have not been in church in decades have joined us online at different times. People from different parts of the country been able to be with us in service, things like that. It's been super, super cool. So that's one of our projects that you're giving this year. Your Heart for God's House made possible was for us to be able to do the things we've been able to do online and even here in the building as well. So super awesome. I'm going to transition here, and I'm going to kind of shift to our next project, and we're going to bring Amber Reed up. She's going to come up and join Jessica over here on the side. And this next project, we actually began out of a necessity before the end of 2019. Actually, we were in a position where our preschool and baby areas were completely packed to the max, which is a great problem unless you're the one in the room leading it. Then you're like, that's not a good problem. But it was a good problem, and we had so many toddlers. It was crazy. The room they were in was way too small, and we started this remodel on our preschool areas back at the end of 2019, and then we really progressed in the beginning of 2020. And Amber's one of our preschool leaders, and she's going to tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah, so at the end of 2019, go way back a decade ago, we were in a totally different room. Currently, our classrooms are whenever you walk in, they're the very first classrooms that you see. You can go left or right to your classrooms. We were in a tiny, tiny room, and you started serving in preschool with the toddlers in January in the midst of that tiny room in our transition time. Tell us about having... One Sunday she was in there. There were 9 toddlers. Again, this is the age pre-K to preschool in a tiny space. Tell us about having 9 kids in that room.
It wasn't just 9 kids. Most of those kids were boys. So You can imagine. They were on top of each other in this little playhouse, sliding down slides. There were legs, It was a good time.
And during that time, because the room was so small, we didn't have a curriculum. It was babysitting. And so in having some kind of order, what did you guys do?
We would try to play. We would try to have some story time, things like that. It went okay, but, we got through.
It was crazy. So then during COVID, some of you know this, during COVID, we started expanding. We redid so many things because the only benefit of people not being in the church was that we could tear everything apart and put it back together, and it didn't have to be done in a week. And so during COVID, we were able to fix some of these classrooms, change them up a little bit. So we expanded the rooms, we got curriculum. How has that impacted teaching now?
It's amazing. It's so much better. That room is so big and so bright and inviting. Like, it just like appeals to all their senses. It's so colorful. And the bathroom is connected to our room. So with little ones, that's important.
So you have to be potty trained to be in the class that she teaches. And previously, you'd have to walk down the hall. And how easy was it to keep kids quiet as you walked down the hall?
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, so easy.
Yeah, for sure.
So easy.
It's nothing.
Yeah, people in the back of the room would be like, I heard when the kids went to the bathroom. And we're like, yeah. So now you've got the bathroom attached, and now you have curriculum.
Yes.
Tell us about, how has that affected kids, their experience on a Sunday morning?
They love it. They have so much fun. They get so involved. They love guessing all the answers. And they really are learning. Like, it makes me so proud. Like, when someone will ask them a question and I'll overhear it and I'm like, you knew you were listening. Like, I love it.
Well, and Amber's not only a teacher in that classroom. She has two little boys, twins, two boys, both of them. That's why she can handle the kids in the night, But so you have twin boys in there. Tell me about how being in that room has changed them wanting to come to church, what they're learning, all of that.
They love it, and they seriously learn so much. Like, they really are knowing Jesus, and they love Jesus, and it makes me so proud. Like, whenever we get in the car and ask them questions, like what they learned, they answer these questions. They know the answers.
Yeah. Tell me about what one of them said about God being a ninja or something.
It was when we were learning, about like the shield of armor and stuff. And so Ellis really got into that part. And so he was a ninja, like God. And he had his shield of armor. And yeah, it was pretty cute.
She texted me and she was just like, hey, this is really soaking in. He was like, I'm a ninja like God. I can be strong like God. It was so cool. Yes. So great. As a parent, tell me what it was like to see us shift from a small classroom to a larger classroom to putting an emphasis on your kids. What was that like as a parent?
I loved it. Like, I still love it. I still get excited about it. Like, when you just look in the room, it's like a completely different setup. Like, just how it's so inviting. I know I keep saying that, but it's so inviting and fun, and I love it.
For sure. Cool. So if you haven't been yet, just give people, as we leave today, don't all everyone at once, but look in the classrooms, see how bright they are. They really are bright and inviting. Sarah and her team did a phenomenal job on getting that all together. And again, we could not have done this without your generosity or without people doing the actual work. I remember being up here and knocking down those walls. Can I just tell you, swinging a sledgehammer during COVID was just wonderful. It was like one of the highlights of my year. So, Amber, thanks for joining us. Thanks for telling us about preschool. Let's give it up for Amber.
Yeah, and a huge shout out to a lot of people that helped with that project. I know Ricky Elledge laid a lot of flooring for us in those rooms. The Adams brothers, they were knocking out walls, demoing walls, building walls, drywalling walls, doing all kinds of stuff. My mom and a couple other ladies were painting. There was all kinds of stuff happening, and I'm sure I missed somebody in that, but there was a lot of people contributing to this project in a lot of different ways, and it made a super awesome space for our babies and our toddlers. So thank you guys so much for your heart for God's house in this project. The next partnership we want to highlight today is we talk about ARC, and we talk about how we give to this organization called ARC, A-R-C, and the organization specializes in church planting, and they plant churches all across the United States and in Canada and a couple other places, and their whole heart behind it is that they want to plant a life-giving church in every community, and so they're always looking for couples who want to go and plant a church in different communities. And a few weeks ago, a couple that we know and that we're somewhat friends with from Colorado, and they're very connected to Nathan Schaffner. Some of you guys know him. He grew up in this church, and he served with them for a long time in another church. And their heart was that God wanted them to plant a church in Colorado Springs. And through our partnership with ARC, we get to be a part of what He's doing, what God's doing in these church plants. And then Brandon and Octavia are going to be in this video here in a second, and you're going to see what God did. This was just their launch day a few weeks ago. They launched in the middle of a pandemic, and they launched a new church in Colorado Springs. So I want you to check out this video of Brandon and Octavia launching in Colorado Springs.
And so through this journey of faith, planting Zeal Church, despite the pandemic and the racial divide and all of these other things, we have arrived at Launch Sunday.
I believe that as we are intentionally diverse, that everyone's gonna feel like I belong here. That freedom is going to give God space to move and do what He wants to in the lives of people.
There are going to be people that walk through the doors that say, we're going to give you one last chance, God, and He's going to far exceed their expectations. What is God going to do on Launch Sunday? What is He going to do in our lives, in the lives of the people that come, and our volunteers' lives? He wouldn't exceed our expectations leading up to this just so that we could have a status quo Sunday. What is He going to do?
So, how was Launch Sunday?
I would say, in a nutshell, Launch Sunday was nothing short of a miracle. We've seen it spiritually, but to see it in the natural, hey, we heard from God. About 5 minutes into service, one of our overseers said, hey, Brandon, you've got to go outside. Traffic is jammed. People are literally wrapped around the building, and they're still coming in.
I turned around several times. I found myself turning to look and just look at all the people worshiping with their hands lifted, really engaging in the presence of God. It was beautiful. We are already hearing how so many lives were impacted on Sunday. There was a mom that emailed us saying that her 30-something-year-old daughter that walked away from the Lord when she was 16, she came to Zeal and God touched her life in a major way, and she's ready to give the Lord another chance.
My daughter's kindergarten teacher had already heard in the break room Monday morning about people who were at Zeal Church and had their lives transformed.
We've just heard so many different things that took place on Sunday that we have prayed for. That was our vision.
I think it just fills our heart with such great expectation of more people coming. Those who come into our city and those who are already here can find a place where they belong, where they can find community that leads to life change.
We expect to see the lost finding their way home, growing, being discipled, finding and fulfilling their purpose.
I expect to see heaven break into Colorado Springs in such a way that our city knows that Jesus is alive and He's still moving and working among His people.
Incredible thing that happened in Colorado Springs last few weeks. So they planted a church. Colorado Springs, I don't know if you've ever been there or know anything about it, but there's a huge racial divide like there is in a lot of our cities in America right now happening. And Brandon and his heart is that, man, we would have a multicultural church in Colorado Springs. And his heart is for that. And they planted that, and they launched with hundreds of people, as you saw there, on their first Sunday, which is incredible. And because of your generosity and because of your giving, we're able to be a part of that. We support ARC every single month, and we give towards them so that they can plant life-giving churches, and so that they can help with that. So some of the things that ARC does for people like Brandon and Octavia is when a couple comes to them and says, hey, we have a heart for a city, then ARC comes beside them and they train them to be able to go in and plant that church. There's a lot that goes into planting a church in a new location, and so ARC trains them and teaches them how to do that, how to build a team of people around them. A lot of you guys are on serve teams here. All the people that are with them, they're serve team members as well, and ARC teaches them how to raise up and how to train leaders within their church to be able to lead in these different areas. And then there's a financial side to ARC as well. So ARC will supply seed money for church plants to be able to plant in places when they might not have all that money yet. And then over the next 10 years, that they will pay back that seed money with no interest back to ARC, and then ARC will use that money to plant more churches. And so it's a zero interest loan pretty much that they pay back over a 10-year period so that they can plant and get all the things that they need. To launch a church costs anywhere, depending on the city you're in, costs anywhere from about $30,000 to about $300,000 to launch a new church. And so they're supplying seed money into that to make that happen. And that's all because of our generosity, because of your generosity. And so incredible to see that happening. And there's churches launching across our country this weekend. I think Brandon and them said they're baptizing dozens of people this weekend in Colorado Springs because of their church launching in the last few weeks. So incredible opportunity to partner with Zeal Church and with ARC this year has been awesome. By the time the year's over, we'll have given over $1,000 to ARC, and we're going to continue to increase that in our partnerships. So we have Kaylee Linton up here with us today as well. We're going to transition to our next focus today is a local focus, and Jessica's going to kind of lead us into that, so go for it.
Yeah. So Kaylee is a part of Senior Citizen Center in Petrolia. Will you tell us a little about what is Senior Citizen Center? What does it do? Tell us about it.
Okay, so the Senior Citizen Center in Petrolia is this little building where originally when it was built in 1987, it was a place for our seniors to kind of get together, domino, puzzle, just have a good time. Also there we prepare meals for our Meals on Wheels. We serve about 44 clients in the Byers, Petrolia, and Charlie area that maybe without our meals would not get to eat, elderly folks. So yeah, and we also serve, before COVID, we served our congregate members, which, everybody would get to come in and have a little lunch and visit and fellowship and just, enjoy one another's company, so.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And
Bingo.
Oh yes, we played lots of bingo, lots of puzzles, yes.
the voice
yes.
in the sky, what in
Yes.
the world? Yeah, all kinds of fun stuff. So during COVID, though, you guys weren't able to come together and play bingo, have lunch together. How did you guys have to shift when COVID hit?
Oh man, it's been tough. It's been tough,
Yeah.
especially on our folks, because sometimes with our elderly people, it was the only socialization they got.
Yeah.
So what we're doing now is we're kind of making little care packages, with the toilet paper shortage. We kind of send everybody toilet paper, little snacks, little sack lunches, and delivering the meals. You get a little company, you get to visit with these folks who usually don't have anybody to visit with.
Yeah.
So that's an awesome thing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So during Serve Day this fall, we had to cancel our first Serve Day, but we were able to have another one. During Serve Day, you brought a project to us that you felt like would be really helpful for the Senior Citizens Center. Tell us about that project.
So our project was painting the cabinets in the kitchen at the center. They haven't been painted since 1987 when the center was built. So it was long overdue, and it kind of gave us a little facelift. We can't wait for our little folks to get back in and see how awesome it looked. Yes.
They'll be
yeah,
thrilled.
We're
Yeah.
excited.
So we were going around to all the Serve Day projects, just seeing what everyone was doing. And Aaron and I walked into the Senior Citizens building, and it's got it's really big on the inside. The kitchen is a little small, which is great because you cook in there,
Yes.
and somebody else cook in there,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so it's a good size for them. But Aaron and I walked in, and we were like, where is everyone? We knew a lot of people went to this project, so we're looking around, and we look around the corner, and there were 10 people in this little kitchen cleaning out drawers, painting.
Yes.
I mean, from 8-year-old all the way up to older, and so there was everyone was able to do something within that project.
Yes.
Tell us how you're in that kitchen every day. Tell me about what does that look like?
Oh man, now it's so nice. Before the cabinets were like white and they got dirty very easily. And in the kitchen, white cabinets just. But now every day it's refreshing. It's nice. It feels good. We just got new flooring laid last week too, so that was really, really awesome. So that's been something we've been able to do since COVID. I guess there's good in everything. So it's just you walk in and you're like, dang, this is a nice kitchen. This should be on TV or something. Kind of.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Kaylee, tell us if someone wanted to practice loving where they live by volunteering with you guys, helping you guys out, what are some ways that they could do that? What are some things they could help with?
You could always pick up a route. We have a Byers Charlie route as well as a Petrolia route, and we're always looking for volunteers. What that does is you take the little folks their lunch, maybe visit with them, say hi, just see how they are. People can always come up and help us clean, organize, whatever you'd like to do, even lawn care. We're a nonprofit organization, so pretty much any little bit of anything helps as far as hands, donations, whatever.
Yeah. Well, Kaylee, I love your heart for, as you keep calling them, the little folks in our community.
They're my people.
They are. You do such a good job of loving them. And again, like if you guys want to partner with Kaylee, if you're in the chat today and you want to partner with Kaylee, make a note in there, let us know, and we'll contact you. If you're here in person today, grab Kaylee at the end of service today and say, hey, I want to help you. I want to serve. I want to be a Meals on Wheels driver and drive to the little folks and say hello to them, chat with them for a little while. I do know that they greatly appreciate it. I've only heard good things and good things about cooking. It's funny. I had a conversation with someone recently and they were like, actually the meals are really good. I really look forward to them. And they had some of their own particulars, as we all do. But they had their favorite meals too. And so it was really cool to thank you for all you guys are doing.
Of course. Thank you.
Hey, let's give it up for Kaylee.
So that's a local project. It was part of Serve Day. It's something that happens literally every single day. Kaylee said that they make 44 meals a day for older people in our communities, and they make that happen. And if you can volunteer in that way, that's one way to come back and just say, hey, we're going to love where we live. We're going to love on people. If you have a flexible schedule or you're retired and you can do that and you can serve one day a week or a couple days a week and take some meals to some people, incredible opportunity to love on people where we live. And we're big on supporting people locally and loving where we live. So that's one way to do that. Our last partnership, we're going to highlight today. We've done other partnerships, other projects throughout this year, but our last one that we're going to highlight today was a partnership that I think magnifies this verse in Isaiah 55:8, where I'm going to read that verse for you one more time. Isaiah 55:8 says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." When this pandemic started, there were a lot of negative things happening, and there's still a lot of negative things happening because of it, and it's hitting our communities pretty hard right now. We're praying over a lot of people who are currently sick or quarantined because of exposure, things like that, and there's a lot of negative that has come out of this season. But one of the things that I think that we sometimes forget is that God's ways are higher than our ways, and even when everything looks negative, God's still working. He's still up to what we sang about this morning. He's still up to something good. Even when it doesn't seem like it, He's still up to something good. And during this season, one of the things that we learned about a couple months after everything started was one of our partnerships. It's called Project Rescue. Project Rescue is an organization that rescues women and children out of human trafficking. And one of the things that we learned about a few months into the whole COVID thing was that the demand for trafficked humans was down like crazy. Which is an incredible thing. But it left a lot of women and a lot of children who had previously been in slavery. It left them homeless. It left them without places to go. And Project Rescue was able to come alongside it, and they actually reached out to all their partnerships, and they reached out to us, and they said, hey, we have a lot of extra women and children showing up in our facilities, and we don't have the finances, we don't have the food, we don't have the housing for it. We need people to step up and give. And so we just said, hey, we're here. Our people are generous, and we're going to increase. And instead of just sending our normal monthly that month, we sent 5 times our normal monthly that month and said, help them, serve them, love them, be the hands and feet of Jesus in 10 countries across Europe and India. Right now, we got all these people that are there loving on people through Project Rescue. And so Erin has had a huge heart for this project. And so we just wanted to interview her and let her share a little bit about Project Rescue today.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
So Erin and I are sisters, and so all of this could be very funny or uncomfortable. Either way, so enjoy. Good luck. Explain to us, what is Project Rescue?
Yeah, so Project Rescue is one of the many organizations that their goal is to rescue, restore women, men, children from trafficking. Project Rescue specifically works with women and children in sex trafficking. So, yeah.
Yeah. So as we began to support this organization in the last year or so, tell us what God did in your heart for these women and children.
Yeah. So my awareness of the trafficking world began like a few years ago. I was reading this book called Redeeming Love, and it was kind of about this a woman trapped in kind of a similar situation, and it just kind of wrecked my world. I was living in Oklahoma City at the time, and I realized that we were one of the biggest trafficking areas because of the highways that ran, and just the reality that I lived like 10 feet away from the highway, that people were being stolen and enslaved on. And so when we came here, words are hard. Whenever we came here, when we moved here, and I found out that we support Project Rescue, it just I love the idea that this world is bigger than we think it is, and yes, it's probably a lot uglier than maybe some of us think it is, but also there's like good. It's a lot better. There's a lot of good happening, and a lot of people right here in our lives that are doing something to make. So I just love whenever I learned that we found out that we support this. It just made me realize like there is something that we can do. You know, like I can't go rescue girls out of this situation, but I can support my church and be generous in my church who supports,
Yeah, absolutely.
initiative.
And obviously we're not in a city, so we're not seeing these things happening. However, they're happening all around us. And that's something that Aaron has a really heavy heart for. And so for Serve Day, Project Rescue was running during the time that we had our Serve Day. Project Rescue was running a walk for freedom. And how many miles did our church walk?
I think, okay, so shout out to the 10 people that we had walking. We walked, I think the 10 of us, and maybe a few more, probably a little bit more, walked at least 92 miles by the time we left that day.
Yeah, you can do it for that.
And then we kind of sent out a few messages the afternoon. We're like, we want to reach 100. Somebody go walk a mile. So I don't know. We might have reached 100, but at least 92 that day. So that was really cool.
Yeah, I do know that Coach Wheeler had her volleyball girls walk in and run in some extra miles for that walk for
Surely
freedom.
that was 8,
And so we had a lot of people walking for freedom, and we knew that if we could raise awareness, then we would be able to support in a much broader way. And so there was one more thing that you did. You wrote a song about to raise money for Project Rescue, for the organizations that help women and children get out of sex trafficking. Tell us about that song.
Yeah, so A21 is an organization that also helps with this kind of stuff, and they have this campaign called "Can You See Me?" and it's just an awareness campaign. It's just awareness campaign. You'll see their posters in airports, in big cities, in subways. They're just trying to I didn't know anything about this until 3 years, 5, I don't know, a few years ago. And I've lived up my whole life in the world and I just didn't know. So awareness is a powerful thing. And they launched this campaign called "Can You See Me?" And I remember seeing one of their ads on social media. It was another target that they do. They had a video of this girl that had been lied to and promised a job and just kind of got trapped in that. And it just hit me. And I just sat down at the piano and I just really feel we all feel a bit hidden sometimes, but these people are particularly hidden in plain sight often. So yeah.
We'll share that on our social media this week or today for you to be able to listen to that song. Super powerful, just again, raising awareness. And here's the thing. When we don't know about something, we don't know that we can do something to fix it. More often than not, Aaron and I ask people what can we do to fix that? Well, how can we fix things? That's just kind of our MO. And knowing what's going on with Project Rescue and A21 and organizations like this, knowing what they're doing for women and children around the the world helps us realize we can partner with them. We can do something to help. So again, because of your generosity, because you're willing to give, because you're willing to give above and beyond, we're able to partner with Project Rescue and do so many great things. So thank you. Thanks, Aaron.
Give a huge hand to Aaron. Her song is available, and something that she's done with that song is she's made it available on YouTube and I think on Spotify even, and a couple places, and you can go listen to that song. And when you listen to it, there's an option to give. And Aaron's donated. I think she's donating all that money. I might be lying there, but I think she's donating all that money to Project Rescue or A21. And she just said, "Hey, anybody that wants to give to this song, I'll give it away back to the organization." So if you want to do that, you can. So super cool what's happening there. But this is one of those things that God's ways were higher than our ways. You know, we thought this is crazy and this is the worst thing that's ever happened. And there's a lot of negative that's come out of this season, but in all the negative, God was still working something good in a lot of women and children's lives going, "Hey, I'm going to set you free." It's not going to look the way everybody thinks it should look. It's going to cause, there's going to be a lot of things around it maybe that aren't good, but in all of that, there's going to be freedom that's found. Even in the midst of the chaos, even in the midst of the frustration, even in the midst of the negative, there's going to be freedom that's found. And so there's a powerful thing that came out of that. In Exodus chapter 35, I want to close out with a few passages of scripture here. The whole idea around Heart for the House is that we give above and beyond our tithe so that partnerships and projects can be accomplished and completed to build the house of God, both locally and globally. Both in those ways. And at the beginning of this year, we actually committed that 10% of everything that came into our church we would give away. And some of you might have been here for that. Some of you might not have been, but I just want to let you know, 10% of what comes into our church this year will be given away. And we've already given away a lot of that. And by the end of the year, we will give away for sure a full 10% out to our communities, to local organizations, to global organizations. It will leave our church. And in Exodus chapter 35, we see the building of the tabernacle, and Moses is getting ready to build the tabernacle, and he's asking the community of Israel, he's saying, "Hey, I want you to partner with me to build the house of God." And in verse 4 of Exodus 35, verse 4, it says, "Then Moses said to the whole community of Israel, 'This is what the Lord has commanded. Take a sacred offering for the Lord. Let those with generous hearts present the following gifts to the Lord.'" And he goes on to list a bunch of gifts that people can present to God. And he lists things like gold and silver and linens and all kinds of stuff and all these different things. He says, "Hey, I want you to present to God your gifts." He says, "Those with generous hearts present these gifts." And then in verse 10, it's up there on the screen for you. It says, "Come, all of you who are gifted craftsmen, construct everything that the Lord has commanded." He's saying, "Hey, I want you to give not just financially, but I also want you to give your skills and your gifts." And I referenced a while ago the Adams brothers and Ricky and people that built and did a lot of stuff and laid flooring and things like that in our preschool areas. They were doing what this verse says in verse 10. They were bringing their craft, they were bringing their skill, and they were constructing and building the house of God. And in verse 20, it says this, "So the whole community of Israel left Moses and they returned to their tents," which is why we told you weeks ago, hey, we're going to be doing this. We said, go home and pray and ask God, what do you want me to give? "All whose hearts were stirred and whose spirits were moved came and brought their sacred offerings to the Lord. And they brought all the materials needed for the tabernacle, for the performance of its rituals, and for the sacred garments. Both men and women came, and all whose hearts were willing, they brought to the Lord their offerings." They brought to the Lord their offerings. They said, "God, here I am. Here's all that I got. Use it to build your house. Use it to build your kingdom. Use it to rescue people from trafficking. Use it to serve the older people in our community. Use it to be able to stream online. Use it to be able to provide a space for our kids to be able to learn and know about Jesus. Use it." And they laid it at the feet of Moses, and Moses picked it up and he used it and he put it to work. And today, and every time that we do this Heart for the House offering, we're saying, hey, if you'll bring and you'll lay it down at the feet of Jesus, if you'll give it, we'll use it. We'll use it. And God will use it and he'll multiply it. And so some of our projects and partners, we're going to try to finish out 2020 with today's giving. And if this is your first time to be here and you haven't heard about this, there's zero pressure for you. I'll tell you what I told our whole church 4 weeks ago, and that's go home today, don't give today. If this is your first time hearing about this, don't give today. Go home and pray and say, God, what do you want me to give? And then give next week or 2 weeks from now, whatever. But some projects that we're going to try to finish up this year. Number one is this coming week. We just ordered 50 turkeys and 50 bags of food that we're going to give out to people in our communities next Sunday. So it's something that we've done here for a long time, and that's a project that we're going to do to end out this year. And so if you're like, what about the turkey thing? Because we normally do it. Heart for the House is going to go towards that. So you can make out your checks for that today or give towards that today. But next week you're going to help us. Actually, we're going to put together 50 bags of food, and we're going to have 50 turkeys in our lobby, and we're going to put those together, and you're going to distribute them to people in our communities that need them next week. We're also looking to remodel our fellowship hall. If you have been in there, it needs to be remodeled. It needs new flooring. It needs new lighting. It needs to have some things done to it so that we can utilize it a little bit better to do some different things on Sundays and throughout the week. We're also wanting to add some stage lighting in here. One of the things that, although online looks really good, sometimes it's hard to see people's faces and things like that when you're watching through a camera without having lighting in front of them. So we're going to add some of that. We're going to keep maximizing our partnerships with organizations like ARC and Convoy of Hope and Project Rescue. We would love to be able to just come to them at the end of the year and say, hey, we're going to give above and beyond what we've been able to do this year. We're going to just give an increase of offering. We're going to give an above and beyond to you to be able to see more women free, to be able to see more people helped, to be able to see more churches planted at the end of this year. And then lastly, we're going to focus on our schools and a couple other of local organizations as we end out this year. This week, actually, how do you guys know, if you're a teacher in the room, you know this, but if you're not a teacher in the room, it's been a crazy year for teachers and school administrators. It has been crazy. And we're in this whole series, Love Where We Live, and we're just trying to find new ways to love where we live. And so this week, we got connected to a girl in Wichita that makes really awesome charcuterie boards. And they have meats and cheeses and all that stuff on them. And so this week, we just said, hey, we want to love on our community, and we want to love on our administrators of our schools because they have had a rough year. And so we went and bought, they have a picture of them, we went and bought 3 of these super awesome charcuterie boards. And we just showed up at their office and said, hey, we love you. Our church loves you. We're praying for you. Yeah, you can clap. We know it's been a crazy year, but we love you, and we are praying for you no matter what is going on in your world right now. We just want you to know that we care about you. And so those are little things that we get to do throughout the year to love where we live. But we're going to maximize, over the next month, we're going to maximize those things. Brian Houston says this. He says, great churches aren't built on the gifts or talents of a few, but on the sacrifice of many. On the sacrifice of many. It's about equal sacrifice. It's not about one person being able to come and give a large amount of money. It's about us sacrificing together to lay everything at the feet of Jesus and say, Jesus, will you use what I have? Will you build your kingdom with what I have? Here it is. Here's my skills. Here's my craft. Here's my income. Here's my finance. Will you build your kingdom with it? And we get to sacrifice together. So we're going to do this as we end out the day. Aaron's going to play a song called Available. We introduced it to you last week. And I'm going to ask you to stand now with me. If everybody in the room will stand. If you're at home, I'm going to ask you to stand with us as well. It might be kind of awkward. You're in your dining room, or maybe you're still in your bed. Get out of bed. Stand up with us, all right? And she's going to play this song. And as she's playing this song, I want you to write out your check or pull up your phone if you're going to give on your phone to Heart for the House or whatever form you're going to be giving in. I want you to get it out, get it ready, and I want you to hold it in your hand. Don't push the give button yet. You can write out the check if you want. You can just memo that Heart for the House and just hold it in your hand for a moment. And if you're not able to give today, or you're saying, hey, I'm not going to be able to give, or I wasn't prepared to give, there's no pressure on you, I still want you to just take a moment and just hold your hand kind of like this in front of you. And I want you to pray with us over this giving. So as you make those out, do those things, if you're already done with that stuff, Erin's going to sing this song. I want to sing with her for a minute, and then I'm going to come back. We're going to pray over our giving, and then we're going to all lay our giving at the feet of Jesus. We're going to give online via text. You'll see all the ways on the screen, in the box at the back, whatever you want. This is an above and beyond the tithes so that we can partner with projects and partnerships here locally and globally. So let's sing together this one last song, and then we'll come back and we will give.
Narrow as the road may seem, I'll follow where your spirit leads. Broken as my life may be, I will give you every piece. I hear less of me and more of you. I just wanna see you move. I just wanna see you move. Oh, I hear you call. I am available. I say yes, Lord. I am available. I hear you call. I am available. I say yes, Lord. I am available. Here I am. Here I am. You can have it all. You can have it all. Here I am. Here I am. You can have it all. You can have it all. Here I am. Here I am. You can have it all. You can have it all. Here I am. Here I am. You can have it all. You can have it all. 'Cause I hear you call and I say I am available. I say yes, yes, Lord. I am available.
I want us to pray over our giving before we give it. I want us to pray God would multiply it. I want us to pray God would use it to build his kingdom, not ours, but his kingdom. And so if you're here and if you're married, I want you to take the hand of the person that you're married to. Just hold on to their hand for a second. If you're here and you're single, that's totally awesome too, or your spouse is serving some other place, that's okay too. I want you to hold your giving in your hand, whether that's on your phone or a check, whatever it is, hold it in your hand, put it out in front of you, and just hold it there in front of you. And I want us to pray over it. It's one thing to give. It's another thing to trust God and say, God, this is what I got. You do what you can do with it. This is it. I'm laying it at your feet. You build your kingdom. And so today we're going to pray over this together. I want you to pray over your giving together. Pray over what you're about to give to God and say, God, would you use it to build your house? God, we love you. And we thank you and we praise you today. God, I pray that today as we sacrificially give, as we give above and beyond our tithe, God, I pray that, God, you would build your house with it. God, that you wouldn't build our kingdom, you wouldn't build our house, but God, that you would build your house, you would build your kingdom, that God, that you would build up our communities, God, that you would save more women and children from being trafficked, that God, that you would help Convoy be able to supply more meals to kids who need them. You would help Project Rescue be able to save more people being trafficked, that God, you would help ARC to be able to plant more churches, God, that we would be able to locally connect with more organizations like our Senior Citizen Center in our schools, that we would be able to do more for them than we've ever done, that God, that we would be able to transform this building and our facilities and steward them wisely to be able to reach more people, to be able to serve more people, to be able to invest in the next generation even better and even greater. And God, we lay it at your feet today, just as Moses asked the people to bring their offerings and bring their gifts from generous hearts. God, we offer up everything that we have to you from a generous heart perspective. We offer you our crafts, we offer you our skills, and we offer you our finances. And God, we trust you to build your house. We trust you to build your house. And we thank you that we get to be a part of it. We get to be a part of it. God, we love you and we praise you today in Jesus' name. Amen, amen. If you're giving on your phone or text there, you can go ahead and hit send or give or